Well, today I'm doing a service. It's class 47. Leeds to Manchester I'm going to do. I used to live in Leeds. I was brought up there. And as you're leaving the station, it does actually look like it. Well, as I remember, it's a long time since I lived there. There's a certain sort of towery building. I think you might be able to see it there on the left. It's got like a pyramid-y thing on top of it. Very distinctive. It's one of them things I'd always see, because where this station is, I used to walk near it every day on my way to work. All the engineering used to be around in this area. I think it's called Watt Lane, I think it was, where they had Vickers factory and stuff like that. But I didn't work there. I worked up in Morley and Gildersham, which this train goes through. It goes through Morley, and there's a great big tunnel there, and I never even knew that tunnel was there. I'd heard of it because people said, there was this strange expression that people would use, you know, about Morley Hall or something like that. I never understood it, but now I realise what they're on about was this big tunnel that goes through, well, presumably quite a big hill. It is hilly up there. Train's very old-fashioned. You see, I can never work out if this game is supposed to be set in the time when the train is. Because when you get out, I don't get out in this scenario very much, but in some of the other ones when you get out, the advertising looks old, and then it's let down though by the cars that you see. The cars look modern, they don't look old. I think it's, I can't see if it's loading passengers. And again, I'm using the keyboard from the PC. I've just got, it's a wired keyboard, and I've got it right in the front USB slot on my Xbox One. And don't forget, I'm using the Xbox One X as well, so I've come to realise that there's a slight difference. Well, obviously there's a difference, isn't there? Well, you got to have this difference, a bit extra money, haven't you? But someone commented one of my Farm Simulator videos saying that he's got a standard Xbox One, and that the frame rate on Farming Simulator is all choppy, not as good as it is on the, you know, because I don't have any frame rate issues at all with Farming Simulator. The graphics is still crappy, low draw distance and that. That's that building on the left. It's square with like a pyramid on top of it, a hollowed out pyramid. I always used to see that. Well, about 100 yards to the right, 200 yards to the right of that, there's there used to be a little factory, or like a little warehouse, and I was in a band, and we used to use it as a practice place. It's called Intersec for some reason. Well, that'd have been what it was called. Them factories, I don't know if they're really there. They're sort of generic. It does look like the area. It really does look like the area. And that other little tower there with it's very distinctive, you see, as you in that area. And you can see blocks of flats. They were on a big hill between Leeds and Gildersham and Morley, and I used to get a bus right up there, and the bus ran up the hill near the flats, the blocks of flats. They're apartment buildings if you're American. I'm sure you know what flats are though. You're not daft. Yeah, it does look like Leeds, kind of, but it looks like Leeds as I remember it. I left in 1982, 83. I've been back, but not that much. Not really, especially not to this area. does have that look about it. It's got a look of a nice summery day as well, hasn't it? I don't know if you've noticed, I've turned the head-up display off because like I said, I'm using the keyboard, and there's controls for that. Like the number 1 puts you back in the cab. I think number 2 gives you like the boom camera. Number 3 gives you the free camera to the front. And then you got a free camera to the rear. And then you got that camera where it does like a drive past, you know. The free camera it's called. Yeah, it splits left here. And them arches to right there, remember them? I'm sure the area were called Holbeck. Because when I was a kid we used to get taken swimming round there. There used to be Holbeck baths. I was at a school in Gibson called Cold Coats. This was quite a long way from there as well, especially when you were a kid. We used to love getting on buses. But the buses we used to have, I think, were from 1940s. Open backs. And they had the... I don't know if anyone's ever seen On the Buses. The television programme called On the Buses. It was the bus that has a separate driver's cab and a proper conductor. And except the ones we had, they had no doors on them. So you just got on at the back. So obviously you could jump on and off them when you wanted, when they were moving and all that, because no one gave a crap about health and safety, even for kids. You know, it was basically if you went under wheels at bus, it was your own fault. Don't go running to your mum if you got squashed by a bus. That's them flats we're on about. On the right hand side of them flats, then there'd be a big gelded road that used to go right up an hill. And the junction with the ring road used to be a pub called I think it was called the Wheat Sheaf. But my wife's from that area. I think she actually worked at that Wheat Sheaf pub. I mean, we'd have been like, she'd have been about 17 or 18 then. It was a long time ago. I've had a bit of a week. You can hear the banging, it's my cup. I'm feeling all sorry for myself. I've been actually ill and I've still gone to work. I've pulled a muscle in my hip. My job involves walking anywhere between 5 and 10 miles a day, by the way. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. I had to mute it then. I'm not stopping. I'll be here all day. Yeah. It's pretty agonising walking and climbing in and out of a truck and all that sort of thing's agonising. Sitting in it's agonising. Going over a bump's agonising. And getting in and out of my car's agonising. And going up steps is agonising. And sitting on my chair that I play my Xbox on or go on computer on is agonising. And on top of that, my body's had the absolute cheek to get some sort of horrible chest infection that's given me a sore throat and you know, coughing up all kinds of crap and sneezing and just general feeling crap. It's not on all at once. I don't normally get ill. I don't normally get injured either. I do a lot of walking. I'm outside all the time. But it's been a bit of a trauma this week. That's my cup going back on the table. Yeah. You won't be seeing these in sequence. I put one up. I put it up yesterday. And yesterday was 16th of February, so today's 17th. But it depends when you want. These will all be on YouTube and I'll make them public basically. Once a week I think I'm going to do it until I've run out of videos, because I'm kind of making the videos every weekend or a couple every weekend, and then deciding to put them live on YouTube, you know, make them publish them on YouTube It's like on a Saturday night or something like that, or a Sunday night. I don't know which I'm going to do. So these are going to be out of sequence as you watch them, I should imagine. In fact, they definitely will, because the one I'd planned to put up, I'm just going to do them in order, see. But I started using the keyboard last week, and I thought, ooh, you know, I think that's quite an important thing, because it can enhance the game. It does enhance the game. It makes it easier to mess about with your views. You know, the 1 key, you're back in the cab, the 2 keys, another camera, 3, 4. And you can get rid of the head-up display as well, which is important when you want to get some nicer sort of shots. I don't know, you know, like for doing like intro videos or thumbnails or whatever. That it's quite time consuming making these videos, and there's a lot to do. But when you get the method, it's a bit easier. You've got to have a plan. Sorry about all the snipping and things like that. There's not what I can do about it. Well, I suppose I could have not done the video, but and I might sound a little bit odd. I mean, odder than usual. But all that when we were going up that hill there, all looked very familiar to me. We ain't got to Morley yet. See, it's quite a long way. Where I lived, when I was a kid, you could see Morley and Gilderson were right on the horizon, because Leeds is built in a valley. It'd go downhill into central Leeds, and then from central Leeds uphill towards Morley, and other way it does, it's like uphill towards Gipton and Seacroft and pretty much everywhere. It's weird. So there's a lot of hills in Leeds. I think this may well be Morley station here. Pretty sure it is. Yeah. See, I just used the button, the key rather, on the keyboard there. That was key number 8, and it gives you that pass. Yeah, it's Morley. Graffiti. You see, I've never seen this station. Never even knew it was there. I don't even know if it's still open. I mean, I wouldn't have been there since like 1980 or 1982 or something like that, because that's where I used to work in engineering. In a tunnel, not very interesting. There's another big tunnel on this route, but I cut it out because it's not good viewing, is it, this? I should have probably cut this out thinking about it, because this is a fairly long tunnel. See, sound just... I've changed nothing, but the sound just changed. And that happened when I was playing it, and it was not very noticeable as well. I've noticed that a few times. It's when you've had an external view, it seems sometimes the game doesn't quite catch up that you've gone and sat back in train. Yet another bug. Yeah, it's pretty boring, this, isn't it? Just, I mean, you know, relatively. Some people are going to find trains quite boring anyway. Well, I suppose they are, but it depends on your interest, doesn't it? If people like them, they like them. You know, because there's that, everyone goes on about train spotters and how sad they are and all that sort of stuff, but you learn to be a little bit more tolerant when you get older. If they want to, if that makes them happy, that's fine. See, I'm just using the keys there. That's the space bar and N. And you get the high and low tone. On that other train you can get the proper British Rail thing. That probably sounded horrific. See, it makes a nice change to have a nice summery day, doesn't it? I've done a scenario which I'm not sure when that's going to go up relative to this, called heavy metal, and that's all in dark. And we're in two minds whether to see, this actually looks really like the area to me. the way that the buildings are sort of these stone built things. You don't get buildings anywhere else like built like that. It's a specific part of Yorkshire. You get buildings built out of that kind of stone. And if you ever went there, you'd realise what I meant. Now, mind you, you could look on Google. On the Google Maps, you'll see what I mean. And I was saying something, one I can't remember what it was now. Went and distracted myself. I think this might be Batley or something like that. Or Birstall, maybe. I can't remember. It's a long time since I lived up there, and I never went out this way anyway. It didn't seem civilised. Yeah. You know, it's like when you're a kid and you've lived in that town, that part of the town all your life, and then when you get to meet different people with different accents, they seem really weird, don't they? It's that transition from being, you know, a kid at school to supposedly being grown up and going out in the big wide world, getting a job and all that sort of thing. Yes. Can't tell what the grade is either, because again, you know, I'm editing on the on a little screen on my laptop, and then someone just come up then for some sort of a milestone. Don't know what area this is. Oh, I'm supposed to be stopping. Oh, I'm going a bit quicker. Yeah, that seemed to sneak up a little bit. These brakes work. This has got the driver's brake and a straight brake. And what I've discovered, because I don't really know how these braking systems work, you know, I'm just a car driver, and the straight brake seems to be quite handy. If you use the driver's brake, it seems, even if you have it on what's called initial application, it seems to give you a lot of stopping power. So if you're rolling off downhill and you wanting to maintain your speed, the initial application, which is the minimum amount you can put on the driver's brake, gives you way too much stopping power and it slows you down too much. If you use the straight brake, you can use quite a high percentage of that. I don't know, like maybe 30%. It might be on here. I can't remember if it's this scenario that was messing with it. It might be. No, this isn't the scenario. It's a service. And I used the straight brake, and it was easier to maintain the speed without losing too much, without bleeding too much speed off. A couple of times as well, for some reason I couldn't get it to restart. But I think it's because I hadn't turned the throttle off. I think this might be the one where I end up messing about a little bit, because if you can see, well, it's not moving. But I'm thinking, ooh, it should be going now, what's wrong? That's why it's easy to think there's a bug in these things when you're not fully understanding the systems that you're dealing with. See, it's rolling, so there must be a gradient, must be a downhill gradient. Yeah, some of these stations are a bit dodgy like that. You'll be going uphill into them, then suddenly be going downhill. I think Manchester might be like that. See, this is losing me some time here, isn't it? See, the throttle's on, and I hadn't realised. The throttle needs to go off. There we go. don't know if you could hear a sound then. I had to hit the mute button on my mic to cough. I like the sound of this. Sounds like I can hear the turbos and that, doesn't it? Pretty much nailed the sound, I think. See, this and the other train from this era, can't remember what class it is, but it looks very similar to this. The engine noise, they're the trains that were about when I were a kid. I'm sure they were in 60s and 70s. And this is what trains used to sound like. You could depend on where wind were blowing, you know, because wind can help sound come towards you. Can also blow it away from you as well. I would hear these sounds of these great big diesel engines in the distance. You could hear them on a night sometimes. You can even hear clacking at tracks, and the nearest track were over a mile away. But as I said, you know, it's hilly as Leeds, and I lived right top of a hill, so any noise would make it to us unobstructed, because it was basically a hill in every direction to get to where I lived. If you wanted to go to my house, you had to walk uphill to get to it, always, no matter which direction you came from. I'll just open window. See, that changes sound as well. See detail at the bottom of that cooling tower. It condenses all that water. See, this definitely, them look like old mill buildings. They definitely look very reminiscent of all the stuff that would have been around here. Now that's like Industrial Revolution stuff, isn't it? Great big textile mills and stuff like that. They want all coal and that in Yorkshire. See, Ravensthorpe, never even heard of it. You'd think I would have done, wouldn't you? But no. I think there's another one I haven't heard of as well. There's a place called Miles Platin, or Miles Platin, and I remember that because I used to be in, like I said, I used to be in bands, and I'm sure, because you used to get these books, they had Burns guitars in them, you know, like a catalogue. I don't even know where the catalogues were from. I don't know where I got them from, but I ended up with these catalogues of musical instruments, maybe from local music shops, something like that, you know, in Central Leeds or somewhere. And they would have these old Burns guitars in there. They were fantastic, and other sorts of guitars. I think it might be an Elko or something like that. And they had these amplifiers, and they were called Miles Platin amplifiers. I hadn't actually checked that on Google. I might have made that up. You know, it might be one of these things that I've you know, when you're a child, you make these little things up, don't you? Because I've read it wrong or something, and assumed you read it right. It might not have been Miles Platin at all. I'll have to have a look at that, but not now, because I'm not that bothered. 65 miles an hour. Boom. You see around that window, that's the motion blur there. You can't turn it off. I found out that's why I don't like the graphics. Sorry about that. Forgot to mute it. Yeah, it's all this blurriness. Look at the grit bin there. Murfield. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. You know, little birds tweeting and that. See, I'm just using different cameras now. You know, I'm just using the keyboard. I mean, there's probably, I haven't really checked, but there's probably throttle controls on that keyboard as well. I got the key bindings off the website for the PC, because it seems basically that the key bindings are from the PC, but all I was interested in was, I was trying to find a way to turn off the motion blur, which is why I think it looks blurry when you're moving. And that's Control F2, I think it is, but on Xbox it doesn't work. and that's a shame, because it definitely needs it. It looks really softens the image too much. And that's, as I've said before, on probably on every single video that I've done on this, is that when I'm looking at it on YouTube or on my computer on these captures, because these captures are at 1080p, and contrary to what I thought, the game does actually run on 4K. It doesn't run 4K high dynamic range. It does run 4K though, which brings into sharp contrast when that motion blur happens, because it really makes the images look soft. That looks quite realistic, and it sounds realistic, doesn't it? Obviously it's got that cartoony game thing about it, because you never really get the depth, do you? You know, the atmospheric depth, because you have these, most days you've got moisture in the atmosphere, and it gives a different dimensional quality, doesn't it, in real life to these games. Sometimes a game will capture it every now and then for specific types of environment, but every day is slightly different, isn't it? And you can get days like this where you've got the blue sky, but you can still have a bit of a haze. That looks interesting. Little siding there with a carriage in it, and I bet you could get out and walk to that as well, just not at this speed. I'll have to try that. You probably can get out. The annoying thing is that there's a very slight step to get back into the cab when you get out, and it makes you press Y. Makes you press the Y button to Dayton. Yes, when I was in engineering, the most feared man was the inspector. You had to, if you did out, you had to set your machine up to make sure all the dimensions were correct and all that lot, and you did one component and you then took it to the inspector who measured it according to the engineering drawing, and he either passed it or failed it. And if you failed it, you were alright maybe for one, but I mean, obviously it's not rocket science, is it? It's engineering, so simple measurements, you should be able to just do it. Anyway, obviously sometimes things go wrong, and you know, a bit of dyslexia can kick in and all that lot, and familiarity, and you can get stuff wrong. But the guy was called Eddie Dayton, and it was like Edward G. Robinson, except more ferocious, and you didn't want to cross him. They used to hit you like give you a dead arm and knee you in the nuts and stuff like that. It's all harmless. Everyone calls it bullying and that lot now, but I suppose it could be up to a point. Depends how it's taken, but you know, men were men then, and you accepted it. It's like my son-in-law in Royal Marines, and the guys that did the wages for them, if they screwed the wages up, they got a beating. You know, because you're messing about with guys' livelihoods here. So the wage clerks in the army didn't make mistakes. Certainly not in the Marines anyway. They got filled in if they buggered it up. Which is as it should be. Now, where am I stopping here? See, I can't read it. It looks yards away rather than miles now, though. Excuse me. Oh, here we are, yeah. Coming in a bit hot again, aren't I? Huddersfield. Just remembered. I had a coughing fit then. Oh, and there's a red. Yeah, if you go through that red, you're finished. I've had a couple of derailments as well while I've been playing. Not on this mission. Now Huddersfield's a place I have been to, but I don't really remember it that well. That's quite recently as well. Well, I say recently, probably about 20 years ago. I bought a car there. You watch when I get back in, it'll make me press Y. Again, the buildings, the architecture and the sort of type of stone, it does look like the area. There you go, look, press Y. See, it's almost level with it, it's so stupid. And then there's a couple of trains, you don't have to do that, you can just walk straight in them. But presumably they're perfect, you know. I've known a shooter like that. What was it? I think it must have been Battlefield. And you'd be running along, you'd just stop and you think, what's going on? And then you had to press jump button, you know, because it was like there was like a blade of grass or something in front of you. I think it was a bug at the time. Off we go again. To blow my nose. Sorry about that. Yes, a few tunnels in this. The longer tunnel, the graphics don't really work that well in it, because it always shows that little light at the end of the tunnel, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and then it gets smaller again. And the headlights on this train don't seem to work. I tested them. I couldn't get them to go on. I mean, it says they were on, but you couldn't see they were on from the graphics. Certainly can't tell they're on in that tunnel. I think I prefer these older trains. I had to go in the American sort of Amtrak train. It was brilliant, a really good train. Extremely powerful. Fantastic brakes. But I don't know, I prefer these, I think. The old fashioned ones. Be interesting to see if they could put a steam train in this. I remember a steam train simulator on the Spectrum 48K. That would probably been about 1984 or something like that, or maybe 1985. You had to shovel. I can't remember what the controls were, but obviously at that time it seemed fascinating and extremely realistic. Never dreamt, you know, what type of games would come out until someone made one. I remember saying to somebody, I can't remember what game we'd been playing. It might have been not Starglider. There was one that came after that. That was on the Atari ST. This thing with a carrier command. You had a carrier and you could manufacture things on it. Anyway, it was called Carrier Command on the Atari, full of bugs. And I remember talking to some guys that I used to buy software. This is when I lived in London. These two guys made a little business for themselves. They did real well, importing games from America. PC games and Amiga games, you name it. And they did a lot of the SSI games, like they were like not so much simulation but strategy games. They were very big in the 80s. SSI and Infocom, Text Adventures, and who was the one that did Silent Service, Microprose, and them that did Falcon, Spectrum Holobyte. That was a great game. Falcon F-16, fantastic. It seemed very realistic. You got a manual with it. You could fly a real flipping Falcon by the time you'd read that bloody thing. You had to manage all your radar systems and everything. Your anti, you know, the thing that tells you someone's locking a radar onto you and firing a missile. and then when someone's locked onto you, you know it'd start squawking at you. It was great. And when the missiles come, you could flipping see them coming up like a telegraph pole lighting up on ground. And just steaming up towards you. And you used to send chills up your spine because you knew there were, if you didn't do exactly the right thing, you were a goner. It was the old Russian systems against the Americans in the Vietnam War. That's what they're basing it on. Except it wasn't Vietnam War with the F-16. It would have been. Oh no, I'm getting confused. That was another game. That was A6 Intruder. That one. That was over Vietnam. F-16 wasn't. That was the Gulf War, I think. The F-16 Fighting Falcon. But the same company. I'm sure it was the same company. But they were great games. I mean, have a look at them. They'd look so crude now. But they were full of potential, you know, and they looked dead realistic at that time. And used to really enjoy making them, playing them rather. But you didn't play them games, you lived them. And then there was Apache Longbow, can't remember who made that. But I had 2 joysticks to fly that. And one of the joysticks you could actually loosen the axis, you could loosen the thing so it didn't self-center. So you could have it on the collective pitch and the throttle. And it was like really flying, you know, because it's like a couple of sticks, isn't it, an helicopter? You got one for your throttle and your pitch, and then your rotor angles and all that stuff, and your rudder. Well, it's your tail rotor, and it stops you from spinning round. And you had to deal with all the radar and weapons systems, and you had to spot the enemies, and it was fantastic. But it was the Longbow Apache. That's the one that can pop its radar dome up above the above like a ridgeline, and paint the battlefield and pick out targets, and dip back down again, and then you just launch a flipping salvo of Hellfire missiles. In fact, your whole squad could, you know, there could be like I don't know, can't remember how many Hellfires were, 16 each ship, possibly, or 8 each ship. So there could be an awful lot of missiles flying. All with their own targets. And apparently that's realistic as well. You wouldn't want to get on that wrong end of one of them things. And that were back in the late 80s, early 90s. That they were PC games then, though. You had to build it. If you wanted the games machine, then you had to flip and build it yourself. And to get a game working as well. All kinds of different memory expanded and extended mouse driver, sound cards, graphics cards. Just started turning into a nightmare. I've probably spoken about it before. That's why I went to console. Basically, I was sick of. You spend more time getting a game working than you did playing it. If you know what I mean. It made you very, very aware of bugs, though. You got really sensitive to them and finding ways to work around them. No internet then either, so you had to wait to buy a magazine with a disc on the front of it, a 3.5-inch disc, hoping that there'd be a patch for the game that you'd bought on it. But not a very good system. That's what finished me with PC games, basically, is the amount of buggering about, basically. Getting the game working, only to find it's full of bloody bugs. And then you just get fed up, don't you, having to work around them all the time and find the solution for this. You end up playtesting rather than playing, which is why I start getting nasty about it. Well, not nasty, I start getting upset. And quite rightfully, when I buy something to play, it's for leisure, not so that I can an unpaid play test for these lazy companies that can't be bothered to do it themselves. Just stick it out. Well, it's business, isn't it? Yeah, I'll give you business. You wait till we can get a refund, mate. You'll be out of business because it'll be gone in no time. I got one of the videos I might be talking about that. I'm waiting for some Turtle Beach headphones to come. I got the Turtle Beach Stealth 700 ones. At the moment, or rather prior to that, I was using the PX5s, which are from the Turtle Beach again, which are from the Xbox 360, and they've got the optical cable to like a transmitter base, you know, so the optical cable comes out the back of the Xbox, and then it gets transmitted wirelessly to the headphones. Unfortunately, you have to have the mic plugged in to the to your controller, and you know, me being me, I've dropped it a few times. Anyway, it's caused a bit of damage and it started getting me really cheesed off. So I ordered these Stealth 700 ones. What a load of rubbish. I mean, the most dullest, least dynamic sounding headphones that I've ever had in my life. They were so dull, it was unbelievable. I mean, it wasn't that they were bassy, they were just dull. Dull as dust. They sounded awful. Well, my ears aren't that good, but they're good enough to discern something that's such a lack of dynamic range or frequency response on them. Really clearly dull. Dull. Couldn't recommend them to anybody. I thought to myself, blooming heck, 109 quid, 110 quid or something they'd cost. I thought that's a bit of a waste of money. Anyway, thankfully, which because I didn't know, I think I could have sent them back to Amazon anyway because they weren't good enough. I've never sent it all back to Amazon before. So anyway, it got to Thursday this week, and that'd be like, Valentine's Day, you know, 14th of February. And all of a sudden, you know, when you're talking through your microphone, it's supposed to feed some of your own voice back into the headphones so you don't start shouting. All of a sudden that stopped working, so I reset them and you went to the website, messed about. This is Turtle Beach website. You know, it looked helpful, but none of the suggestions worked. And then I just thought, right, they're going back. They don't work. They're not flipping fit for purpose. And on top of all that, the crap, they've got some sort of fancy plastic leatherette. No one even calls them leatherette anymore. It's fake leather. But for fake leather, just read plastic that makes your ears sweat around them. And I thought, right, so I go on, click a few times on, I live in a village, by the way, in the middle of nowhere, but we do have a post office. Click on a few things and it gives one of these QR codes. This is for the return the headphones, right? Pack them all up, take them to the post office, took pictures of it. Well, my missus took pictures of it because I couldn't walk after working all day. I was then crippled by the time I got home because once I stop I can't start again. So she trudges up to the post office. It won't work. So I says, right, take my laptop up because it tells you what to do. You know, Amazon's clear. Show the post office the email and they then scan it, right? And the woman in post office saying, I don't know what's wrong with it. It never works, this. Liar. She knew exactly what to do. Anyway, so my missus went back up with my laptop and guess what? It just worked. And within hours. In fact, I hadn't actually checked the time I'm going to cut this here, I think. Yeah, I cut it. You can probably see how many minutes lost. That was the long tunnel. Yeah, I'll have to check on my emails actually. I think basically as soon as the woman in the post office scanned the QR code, he must have sent something to Amazon and they refunded me straight away. I mean, it was minutes, I think. I think it was actually minutes. Absolutely amazing. But they're fantastic, Amazon, aren't they? Like that. They don't mess about. I ordered some for my missus for Christmas. She makes cakes and it didn't turn up, and then they just sent me another, no questions asked, and it were expensive. I'll have to try it with now. That'd be theft, wouldn't it? My camera didn't turn up. It only cost because I'll get a GH5, Panasonic GH5, quite a fancy one of them. Yeah, my Panasonic GH5 didn't turn up. Oh, we'll just send you another one. Hee hee hee. You know, make sure you're not in when the guy turns up, so that he leaves it in your safe place. Yeah, he'd make quite a profit on that. I wouldn't do that. No, lots of people would. But it is stealing, isn't it? And even if you're stealing from a multi-billionaire, it's still theft, mate. Even if you can afford it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should, does it? I do like the sound of this train. It's not as good as my voice. Yeah, we all like the sound of that, don't we? Its own voices. Well, most of us do. There's nothing wrong with that, though. Just don't go too far. Don't start thinking you're out important. Not too important. Because don't forget, you can't be the centre of the universe, because I am. If the universe was infinite, that'd be true for all of us, wouldn't it? Oh, you see I'm going over speed. Quite a long way. I think it's going downhill as well. See, I'm off the throttle there. I'll be playing with that. I'm playing with that straight brake, aren't I? This is what I was talking about earlier. Oh, that church steeple looks nice. So if you look above where it says 71, you see the thing moving to the left. That shows you how much braking force is on, and if it moves to the right, it's how much it accelerates. So that, I think that's quite a steep hill, that. For if you don't understand this route, you probably, if you're foreign to UK, is between Leeds and Manchester. There's like this sort of semi-mountain range, quite big hills. That's why there's so many tunnels, you know, because the train can only go up so much of a grade without using like a different system, like the Swiss ones with the rack and pinion trains. I don't even know if they have them anymore. I remember them from when I was a kid. So you're going uphill all the way. This mountain range, or this set of hills, is called the Pennines, and it runs north to south down the centre of the UK, England. It's south of Scotland. It's just in England, and it's quite a separator, really. And there's roads across it. There's a specific motorway called M62. And it's quite high elevated. It gets frozen over, and the trains go over it as well, but they can't go over some of it. It has to go under it. That's where that long tunnel was. So on your approach to it, you'll be going uphill a lot from Leeds. So I had a coughing fit again. From Leeds you go uphill quite a lot. You could tell it was uphill all the way out of Leeds until he got to Morley, wasn't it? And then it went uphill some more, I think, through that tunnel. Or Morley Hole, as my mother used to call it. That they referred to that, by the way. Have you out, you know, you've got a mouth like Morley Hole. Except they said it sort of strange, and I never really understood what they were saying. Something like that, some daft way they say it. You got a mouth like, but what they were referring to is that you got a big mouth, really, because it's hell of a big hole, isn't it? That one, really, if you think about a tunnel. Yeah. So you're going uphill a lot on your way to the Pennines, because it is quite big. That's why it's called Transpennine. You see, it's a Transpennine pack, isn't it? And then when you get to it, you know, you'll reach the peak, and then it's downhill towards Manchester. Yeah, it was quite slow, wasn't it? If you think about it, if you catch my back at the beginning of the video, you couldn't get the train up to speed, even though the train were on full power for a long time. In fact, I think the train were on full power all the way to Huddersfield, I think. Well, I think I came off at throttle, and it never got that fast, did it? And then you saw, you know, a couple of minutes back, we're having to put that that straight brake on to try and retard the speed again. Using it again now, I think, aren't I? You can see it's not retarding it that much. I think I had it 100%. It's really difficult to see for me on this editing software. Now I've just come off at brake again. See the air pressure goes out of it, and that. But I've got it down to 43 now, so I'm under the speed limit. But the speed limit is going to drop down, isn't it? I think it says 15, doesn't it? It's only a few yards away, and I'm doing 40 odd. See, I think when it's getting, you got speed limits like that, I think you got a possibility for derailing, you see. I've derailed a couple of times, like I say, and obviously that's end of scenario. This isn't Manchester either. I can't remember where this is, because I can't read it on there. It's too small for me. Is it stock somewhere? I can't remember. Going over speed slightly. I'm getting the hang of now more of where and how to brake, you know, on all these trains. I can't believe I'm still playing this game as well. At the moment, the New York thing is for sale, but I'm not buying any more. I don't think the company deserves it, to be honest with you. They seem a bit, sorry about that, they seem a bit like they don't really, not really bothered about the customers that much, you know, leaving bugs. I spotted these on Wayne, see these glowing things, so you can wait down for service. You could start another scenario, you see. That's an introduction. Because I think you can get on these. You can be like a passenger on these trains. You know, this is a step up. You makes you press Y. It's a bit daft, isn't it? It knows you want to go up there, but makes you press Y. It'd have been so much easier to have a jump button, wouldn't it? Or just have it done automatically. You want to have to press Y again to go up that little step. Yep. Yeah, it's a bit daft, isn't it? I mean, by the time this goes up, I should imagine, unless I put it up out of sequence like I did the other one. I think the one I put up the day before that I'm actually doing this one is City Sprinter, and it's the first one I use the PC keyboard on, and it actually makes the game easier to play. So I think I've done the thing again here, when I've not. Yeah, no, I don't know why. I don't know what happened there. I like the sound of that. And them turbos just sound like turbos, doesn't it? It says max speed 95 mile an hour. It's a challenge, isn't it? I don't know which train I like best, actually. I definitely like these diesel ones. But I like that American train we're on. I certainly like the great big freight train. I've only used that once or twice. Massive monster of a train. Typical American, that, innit? They just, we need this to work. Throw money at it until it works. And you have something that then strangely works. Not only that, keeps on working. We could all do with a lesson like that, couldn't we? If you're gonna do it, do it. If you're not, don't bother. Yeah, we're in like a cut now, aren't we? See, to me, this definitely, when I look at these videos back every now and then, I don't watch them from start to finish. By the way, I don't have enough time. I try and quality control them as much as I can, make sure I've got sound balances and all that sort of stuff. But I'll just take a sampling, you know. I can visually see where the loud bits are, you see, in the software that I'm using. You know, so if there's loud background noise, you know, like say the engine's just going past, I can quickly go to that bit and have a listen. I've got some decent headphones, and I can tell, you know, if the balance is going to be alright. Because I know that. I had to mute it again, sorry. I know that a lot of people actually watch these on phones. Ashton Underline, I've heard of that. Yeah, people watch them on phones, don't they? And I'm quite surprised at that. I like to watch on my tablet. Got a nice Samsung tablet, and it's got that sort of cinema ratio sort of screen on it. It's not like an iPad. You know, the iPad's got like the old style ratio, hasn't it? I like the sort of 16:9, you know, cinema ratio. It's better for watching stuff. Don't know if you've ever watched any of my films, that's what I film. I put them down to that ratio because it makes them look like a film rather than a video, you see. It's what you're expecting. It's just because of all the films. They used to make them with anamorphic lenses, and you got this, I won't bore you with it, but an anamorphic lens, you need to then use an anamorphic projector. But it's a specific look you get this stretch look, and you get this sort of background blur, and you get lens flares, and to people, to everybody, they just look fantastic. It's everything about big cinema, big colour cinema. It's just fantastic lens flares and things like that. Just look at Star Trek movies, films. Some fantastic bits in that. Just got anamorphic lens looks and stuff like that. It's just I think it's Michael Bay. He loves that sort of stuff by the look of it. I don't know if it's artificial, but I don't see why he should be using artificial anamorphic lenses. Anamorphic lenses, by the way, are extremely expensive, and I've done a couple of films, and one of them I've used an anamorphic lens filter that I made myself on it, and it's pretty realistic. It's called Halloween Ninja. It's quite funny. Well, I think it's quite funny, and so does everyone that's watched it. But it has that anamorphic lens look, and lots of lens flares, and I did it specifically. I made the film specifically to highlight that sort of filmmaking, because I love that sort of look. But yeah, it looks great. And this little filter that I made, I just put it over me. I've got an old lens that I used to use on an old SLR, and I got an adapter, and you can fit it onto a Panasonic J7 that I've got. And it gives it quite a lot of zoom though, because it's a 50mm lens, so it makes stuff look real close up. But it's got a large aperture, so you get a fantastic depth of field in it, and it just looks like a film lens. It's really nice. I don't know if it's something to do with how old the glass in it is. Because I got that when I was 20 or 21. I've still got the camera and I've still got the lens. I mean, they made stuff to last then. So they'd done the double horn. In fact, I did a triple, didn't I? Yeah, just that's what people expect to see. You see in cinemas. So, you know, people that make films call it like the film look. And there's lots of stuff on YouTube how to achieve it. That's where I learned all my stuff. And I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm certainly not an expert, but I've learned a lot. So I used to just be like, I've always had good cameras, but I've always been the snapper. I don't really care about composition. It's more like a diary to me, is the camera, than it is anything else. You know, it's to record moments, not particularly to look beautiful, even though it can sometimes. But with these digital cameras now, you know, with massive memory cards, you can just smash film out, can't you? You know, just take as much pictures as you want, and every now and then you get a corker, don't you? Just by default. I've got loads on my computer, and I'm looking at them and thinking some of them are quite good. Like I said, literally it's just by default they're quite good, because it's nothing that I did. I just took the pictures, and it just so happened the camera made them look fantastic. And last year I decided, why don't we just get some printed? So we got some big prints made off, and they look quite nice. Got one at the bottom of the steps. It's about, I don't know, 2 foot by 18 inch, or it might be even be 3 foot, I don't know. It might be 3 foot by 2 foot, I don't know. But it looks really nice. And why not, you know, all them pictures. Because I've got pictures that are on an old hard disk somewhere, and I never get to see them really. I've got stuff of old kids and that, and I've even taken pictures of our proper photographs. You know, the proper photographs that we've had from me being a kid and my missus being a kid, and then us getting married and having kids herself, and before we had kids, all them photographs we took. That's why I got a Canon A1 or something like that. We're about 20, and a big zoom lens and all that for it. And it came with a 50mm f1.8, I think it is, or 1.7, and it doesn't half look good on these. I've got the Panasonic G7. It's a Micro Four Thirds, and it doesn't half. It's much better than the standard lens, but I've since got another lens for my Panasonic, and that's better because it's a lower f number, so I can use the Canon one, and I can use that one because they both look great. But the Canon one's definitely got a definite look about it, and you think, yeah, that looks nice. Very cinematic, or very filmy, not video-y. Yeah, I don't know if we've come to Miles Platting yet. Can't remember. Unless it's down here somewhere. I don't see it though. Oh, it's Manchester Victoria next. I must have missed it. All the gasometers, northern feature. Mind you, they're everywhere, them. Otherwise you don't have any gas in your house, do you? Going a bit faster. We're only yards away from end of scenario now. See, it's showing me like 13,799 XP, but I'm pretty sure it won't give me it. I don't get that. What's the point of showing you all that and then it doesn't seem to want to give you it? It looks a little bit glitchy when I stop it. It starts spooling some kind of score or XP across the screen, and then it seems to do it really fast. You know, you can't actually read what's going on. You'll see it, and then it does it afterwards as well, and you'll see that as well. I'm not going to explain anymore. You'll see it, but it just never seem to give you enough. It doesn't ever seem to give you the amount of XP that it's showing there. And when I stop, it'll probably be even more. You know, because I'll get at least sort of 400 for stopping so close. Yeah, it gives you the, it doesn't mess you about. I've done a scenario, you see, not a scenario, a service when it just won't end. Never got my score. Just wanted me to carry on, I thought, nah. So it's getting me to load passengers, but I don't get to do any more driving. I don't know why it does that. There you go, that's what I'm on about. We just flicked that across there, and then it gave me 2,000, and then you can see it's scrolling up there, the scores. See, how is that 13,000? Unless it's split across them several things, is it? I don't know. Everything, I've got green ticks everywhere, haven't I, because we're on time. Yeah, anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.